Hi there. Thanks for coming on the show. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Ed. What about you?
Life is good. I can't complain. So tell us about yourself.
Well, as we just figured out, we're both in Florida.
Yes.
So some people go, "Where are you?" And I'm like, there's a lot of people in Florida that I actually come across more and more.
Hmm.
Like, probably because when I moved here, about 2,000 people were entering the state every single day. That's a much less now. That was right, sort of post COVID. Anyway, so yes, I'm doing fantastic.
Okay.
What would you like me to tell you about myself?
Well, I'm going to ask broad questions. So we're going to start
Good.
kind of at the beginning,
Okay.
and then just get up to like current day. So we're going to cover a lot of ground. But my first question really is, where did you move from?
I was living in Cincinnati, Ohio, which was not where I'm from at all. And it's kind of funny that we even were in Cincinnati, Ohio for 5 years. My brother lives there and we moved there from New York. So
Okay.
I have two daughters and we were in New York and then we moved to Cincinnati, which was actually fortuitous because we were there for 2 years and then COVID happened. It was the perfect place to be because it was just, we were living on a lake, sort of
Hmm.
not near a lot of people. So I was grateful we were not in Manhattan for COVID. That would have been awful. So
So
yeah,
you
and then
were
I've been in,
living in Manhattan and then you went to Ohio.
I lived in Manhattan for 19 years.
Oh, wow. What,
Yeah.
um, there's so many questions I got for you. But go on, go on. So you were by a lake during COVID in Ohio, or
Yeah,
did
in
you?
Ohio, yes.
Okay.
And then we didn't really love it there. And so I said, let's just move to Florida because I live looking at the bay. I like water. So we were
Yeah.
on the lake and now I'm looking at the bay.
Hmm.
I love being around because I grew up in Perth, Western Australia. So I love being around beaches. So we love Florida. Yes, it's hot, but that's fine. I'd rather be hot than be cold all my life. So yeah, we love it here. Despite all the hurricanes and everything, it's just we're getting used to that way of life.
Hmm.
And yeah, we moved here because we wanted to 2 years ago.
Okay. So let's spin back the clock because you just said you were from Perth, Australia, if I heard correctly.
Okay, I'm not actually from there. I grew up in Perth. Never going to spin it back further and confuse you further. I was born in the Bay Area of San Francisco. We
Okay.
are
So
we are an American family.
you're American family. Okay.
Yeah. And then my parents decided
Hmm.
to move 10 children and themselves, so 12 people, moved to Australia in 1971 when
Why?
nobody moved. They did not agree with everything that went on in America, just Vietnam, the
Okay.
drugs, the
Okay.
problems that were there. They saw it. They were in California, so they were, California and New York were like the two major problems. Some of those other places, but 70s were not a great time in America. We
Yeah.
were we were in the Bay Area before Silicon Valley. My dad, though, worked for Stanford Research Institute for years. So he was the beginning of that whole Silicon Valley. He was one of the pioneers, actually,
Really?
of Silicon Valley. Yes. Then they moved us to Australia because they just said, we don't agree with Vietnam, and that could have gone on forever and ever. And they had
Hmm.
three sons, so they moved. They wanted somewhere quieter, and
It
a
doesn't get
lot, a
much
lot of drug,
quieter
a
than
lot of
Australia.
drug problems too. And they just didn't want us to ever, yeah. So moved to Australia. It was very quiet then.
How did that
Um,
affect your dad's career? Because if he was one of the pioneers in
well,
Silicon
he had
Valley,
he left the job. He
he
left,
straight up
and he was
left.
he was an investor, and so for a while, and then he ended up, working for places in Australia. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
so he had worked there for quite a while, actually, like 13 years. Like
Oh, wow.
started in like late 50s. So one of the pioneers, because Stanford Research Institute was the place for everything computers and everything.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so um, actually, he was working there when they sent the first email from UCLA to SRI, and
Wow.
there was actually a documentary written about that by Werner Herzog called "Lo and Behold," because they were just said low, like logging in low, and then it cut, so it just said low. That was the first email said low, and then they lost power.
Wow.
Yeah. So the very interesting documentary actually called "Lo and Behold" by Werner Herzog, fascinating about the ARPANET and all that. Like there was stuff they were using before we even knew about it. There was,
Hmm.
private internet there was a phone. So that was interesting. So I grew up in Australia and then I lived in Europe for 8 years on my own. They didn't move.
Where
They
in
were still,
Europe? Where'd you go?
Mainly in Paris for 6 years, and then I lived in Vienna for a bit, and then in the United Kingdom, but mainly 6 solid years in Paris.
Okay.
And then I moved to New York. I was an actress at the time,
Hmm.
and I moved to New York in 1998, and just did the whole New York actor shuffle. And I did
Did
get a
you get
professional.
any parts and roles in your acting?
Yeah, I did here and there. I mean, it was kind of harder because I was older, but I did. I'm in one thing people know that
What's
you
that?
can actually go watch. It's called No Reservations. It's a film with Catherine Zeta-Jones in it about a chef. And I have one line that did not get one line. And I still get I'll show you. I will show you right here. Here is my latest residual check from that.
Like,
This one is for a whole
dollars?
$18.20.
Oh, wow, $18. Okay.
Yeah. But, at one point I was getting pretty good residuals, but hey, I did that film
Yeah.
in 2000. It came out in 2006, and I'm still getting a little bit of, stuff. This is just very symbolic to me because, it's passive income, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So,
Like
but I
that's
did make quite a bit of passive income. It's less and less, but so that's one thing that people would know, and that's kind of it. And then when I was in New York, I,
Mhm.
I by accident got a job as an executive recruiter for Wall Street, and I was just a natural. So
How
they were
so?
like,
Like what,
I was,
like, wait, tell me about that. Tell me stories about that.
well, I was, doing the New York Shuffle,
Okay.
and I actually had a job where I was the filming, I mean, not like professional, but just running the camera for a
Hmm.
company that would train McKinsey consultants how to speak. So it was a whole consulting agency that
Hmm.
their main client was McKinsey consultants. Like McKinsey would send their consultants to learn how to speak because they couldn't speak, the whole So they had these consultants that would coach them
Hmm.
on how to speak for their presentations.
Wow.
Okay. And
Okay.
I was just a mere minion. And I was just, I'd get there. Like I was living in Brooklyn at that time in a rat infested apartment that my friend said I could use. I was like, so I'd have to get there at like 5. I had to be at the job at like 5. No, I had to get up at like 5, and I think I had to be there by 6 or something really early
Hmm.
to set things up because we had to it was just, menial work. But I was the one filming I was filming the people. So then they would it was the videos then. The
Hmm.
big
I remember
VHSs.
those days. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
not like the
It was
digital
a
cameras of today.
VHS.
Yeah.
And then they would go through with them and say, hey, you see you're doing, and then they do that. So while I was working there, I saw an ad in a backstage. It's the actor's rag.
Hmm.
And it said looking for, recruiters. And I thought, oh, okay. And the my boss, who I'm still like know now, he I left a voice message. Remember the old days of the voicemails? I'm showing you how old I am now. In the call into the voicemail, and the
I
actors would
do. I
see if
do.
anybody's giving them a role. So he calls and he because I didn't have a phone. We didn't have cell phones then. Like hardly anybody had a cell phone then, right?
Yep.
They were around, but not everybody had one. And we had pagers and we
Hmm.
had the voice box. Okay. And it said, okay, got your voicemail. Please don't hang up. I really want to interview you. This is called executive recruiting. It's for Wall Street. It's legit. I really, 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 really want to meet you. I thought, okay. So I go in. I
You're
go
like
in. I had
hardcore,
no
yeah.
suit. I had no suit of clothes. So I thought, oh, gee, maybe I better buy something a little businessy. So I went to a shop called Strawberry, which is a very cheap clothing shop. And I bought like this decent looking suit. Actually, it was pretty nice, navy blue. I
Hmm.
bought the suit to go to my interview. Go in. And he's like, okay. And I was bleary eyed because I was like up all night worrying about the rats, So I go in, I was exhausted. I was like, okay. And I get in there and he's like, okay, so this executive recruiting is for Wall Street. I said, oh, okay. And uh-huh. And I'm very scrupulous. I just want to do a good job. And he's like,
You're a good
so
actress. You're just playing along. Yeah. Okay.
no, I was actually thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm good for this because I'm very honest and I'm
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
over scrupulous in some ways. Like I don't just like I'm thinking I don't know if I'm going to do a good job. And I'm thinking he sees me go, and he goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know if I do a good job." And he goes, "Oh no, no, you would. You're amazing." He goes, "I can already see that you're going to be amazing." I had a very sort of a little bit of a French accent, and I'm
Hmm.
cultured, and I spoke other languages, and they like that because then you can speak with the investment bankers and the highfalutin people, and it's not like, hey, you want to get a job? They don't want that for this retained. So anyway, I'm like, oh, okay, and I said, yeah, the thing is though, I said, I don't know what a stock or a bond is really. I said, I really know nothing about that. And I said, I'm not an investor. He goes, oh, no, no, no. And he keeps going, oh, no, 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 you're going to be fine. I said, okay,
Really?
well,
You're like,
well,
really?
I said, well, and he goes, are you trying to talk me out of hiring you? And I said, no, like, that, well, no, but and he goes, oh, he turns around and he goes, because Seinfeld was just ending. It was last season of Seinfeld then. And he goes, this is like a Seinfeld session. He goes, he turns around, he goes like this. He goes, this is like a Seinfeld episode. And he goes, look, you're going to be great. I want to hire you. Yeah, yes, right? And I said, oh, okay. This is my interview. So then he goes,
Wow.
great. I'm excited. He goes, and it was part-time too. It was like I think 30 hours a week. So it suited me in my schedules, It was just enough that he didn't have to pay me insurance. So anyway, he goes, you know what? I'm going to hire you. You're going to do a great job. Don't worry. I'm going to help you the whole way. Don't worry. He said, and you're going to be the best executive recruiter I've ever met in my life. I said, oh, okay. I worked there for a week. And he goes, okay. And he's training me on everything. He goes, okay, Sean. He goes, now listen, you're the most talented executive recruiter I've ever met in my life. You're a natural. I said, really? He goes, I have never seen, I didn't have to try. It was the one thing in my life that I did not have to try to be good at. Isn't that insane?
You just were just like a fish in water.
Yeah.
Did he see it during the interview?
He
Like,
saw that. He was very smart. He said that. He goes, you are going to be the best executive recruiter I've ever met in my life. Okay. Then after a week, he saw just because I'm good at talking to people. And he would be there like saying, hey, giving me notes, like what's top down, what's bottom up. And he'd explain one thing one at a time. Okay, this is what he goes, just follow the script for now. You're an actress. So I would just follow the script. I pretend that I knew what I was talking about. And after a while, I did. But it got people in the door. They liked me. They liked that I sounded a little exotic, like a little bit of a French accent, and I could talk about art. And when I lived in Paris, and they're like, oh, she knows stuff. So anyway, that was it. And then I did that part-time while I was there, and I ended up getting quite good jobs as an executive recruiter. I ended up hiring investment bankers
okay.
while I had my acting sort of life on the side.
So your main income turned into a vesting recruiter, like I'm
Yes,
sorry, an executive recruiter
executive recruiting.
you
Yes.
were strictly only doing investment bankers, or did you
Well, it started off with portfolio managers and analysts, which was good because I learned about that side.
Gotcha.
And then that was then I went on to the other side, and that was with another company. And yeah, I thought it was fun. And
Was he
they always worked out. They always let me work whenever I wanted. It was great.
so did the manager that you met at the beginning, did he kind of jump ship and say, "Hey, come with me," or you just found a new spot and he had his own business? What was that
No, that was
relationship?
his own business, but then he
Okay.
closed that business and then he worked, so he couldn't bring me with him when he went to another company, and that's okay. Then
Mhm.
I got other jobs, and then I ended up getting another, and I was doing the acting thing, but a bit of advice for actors: if you're already like in your 30s and you move to New York, it's going to be really hard because you have to really start young. And I realized later on, there's a lot of connections that if you don't have, it's amazing I got where I got,
Yeah.
really, just by sheer will of even getting, like the sheer will. I decided I wanted to be at background. At one point, I thought after 9/11, I
Hmm.
lost my job. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to live off my acting, even if it's background work. And I did. Not very well, but I found my wad of like slips. I was on a lot of stuff.
Really?
And yeah, like background and a lot of movies, a lot of stuff. And I also got a regular gig as a cop on Law and Order SVU.
Were you like a speaking role, or were you just there in
No,
the
no,
background?
background as a
Okay.
cop. So as a background,
Uniformed cop, or were you like a detective?
background cop, background. So background, so cop uniform, but not speaking. Okay.
Gotcha.
And
Well,
because
I'm
in
gonna
all
look for
those,
you because I'm gonna watch that now. I'm gonna
oh,
see if I
but
can't find you.
years ago, you have to look at like,
I have Netflix, so I have the whole.
2000, you have to look at 2000, 2001, 2002.
Okay.
That's when I was doing the most. And also then I did other roles. And sometimes people would be like, oh, I saw you on, because they sometimes have like a big close up of me because they sort of like have the close up, but then they're filming the people in the background. But I
Hmm.
had people come to me often and go, I saw you in, Special Victor. I saw you in Law and Order, and you were the reporter. And just like 3 seconds, people recognize you. It's incredible.
Oh
So
yeah.
then I lived poorly. I thought, okay, I lived poorly for a while. then I did get some consulting and and here and there, and then I got married at 40. So yeah, it's lots of different chapters going on.
Okay, so um, you you were executive recruiter. You did very, very
Mm,
well on that. You said, okay, I'm done with that. I'm going to just be an actress. And you said, okay, I'm not really doing great. I'm going to jump into consulting.
right.
What consulting were you doing? Were you doing executive recruiting consulting? Were you
Executive
doing
recruiting consulting. So I would do some extras work and then and then at that point I'd already started making films. So all of my money was going
okay?
into these, I just made my own short films. So I was a filmmaker, which I
Mhm.
loved, but it was all on a shoestring, right? And then I thought, gee, I better do something. So I was just going to doing the extras work. And I thought,
Mhm.
okay, well, and then doing a bit of that. And then I started getting a bit of consulting with executive recruiting. It pays very well. So it's sort of, I lived on a shoestring. So it was good enough,
You didn't need all the luxuries
I
in
didn't
life,
need
really.
that much. I had fairly cheap rent in New York, believe it or not.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was okay. And yeah, so they just call me in when nobody could find the person. It was always at the 11th hour. They'd give me like a month of consulting work. Like, okay, we can't find the person. So go find that person. I'm like, okay, you could have given me a bit more time, but no, it was good. I was
Hmm.
kind of like the sharpshooter that would come in and just find their man because it was always a man, except for once. Um, maybe once. Yeah, Wall Street was, I don't know how it is now with that, but you know, I only ever met one woman investment banker in my whole career.
Interesting.
Mm,
So you would come in, you'd be the sharpshooter, you would find that person, they'd be like, we can't do it, you get it done. And
yeah.
you would make a king's ransom, I would assume, because if you're trying to get it
Well,
done in less than
I had
30
I
days.
had a pretty good day rate for that. Yeah, I
Okay.
negotiated pretty
So
solid day
like
rate.
I had a friend that was an executive recruiter, and how she works down here in Orlando area is, and you could say, hey, this is not how it was done back in the day, just
Right.
quickly. But she would find people for the tech. And she would say,
Mm.
like, your first year salary, I'm gonna take a percentage of your first year
All right. Well,
salary to pay
she
myself.
was actually, I didn't, I was not the firm. I was working for them, so I didn't do a percentage. I just got paid. They were doing whatever,
Okay,
it wasn't my own business. So I
gotcha.
just had a day rate to come in and do my work and get out, you know?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
So
interesting.
that was that. Yeah.
All right.
I was actually,
Well,
when I think about it, I was charging a lot. I was charging $1,000 a day in
wow.
those days. Yeah.
Well, I
When you think
mean,
about it,
yeah.
$1,000 a day in 2002,
Hmm.
2000, well, 2000, more like 2003, 4, 5, let's say. Okay. That was a
Hmm.
lot of money then.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And like they were probably making even more money because
Although they were making a ton, it was nothing for
yeah.
them. These were retained search firms. So I knew that.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, it's $1,000 a day, 100, okay. They wanted their man. So yeah, thinking about it, that was more money then than now. That's like probably $1,500 a day now, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
unfortunately, it's crazy how inflation has kind of made things go a little bananas.
exactly.
What time frame was that? Just so I can put it in
I'm not
perspective.
sure. To be honest, I'm not big on dates. Let's just,
Like 2010s?
it doesn't really matter. No, like I finished the consulting. The last consulting job I had was after my first daughter was born. So
Hmm.
the last one I ever had was 2000, um, probably 2007.
Okay. So I
No,
have
and
some
no more.
questions
Yeah.
for you because you said you get married at 40 and
Hmm.
you had your daughter 40 plus. Were you ever like concerned about like the whole issue of like late life pregnancy? Because a lot,
Absolutely.
okay,
Absolutely. But I was very different. I wasn't even like, I wasn't really wanting to get married when I was younger. I was traveling, I was doing stuff, and
having fun,
I
yeah.
was very late. And then at like 35, I thought, it would be good to get married and have kids. And that isn't, I mean, that old, but when there's nobody in sight, and New York City is not a good place to date. Like, if a woman is in New York City and they want to get married, they should just leave New York City because it's so tough. There's
Hmm.
way more women than men.
Hmm.
And it's just that whole Sex in the City kind of thing. It's true. It's just this whole weird. And then when I left New York City, I thought, oh, that's how normal people date. It's a very strange, like good on paper kind of thing, and very from both sides. It's
Like
just
kind of
not.
hookup culture in New York City?
No, well, I don't know what it's like now. Okay, this is a long time ago.
Okay.
That's like everywhere. But I know it's more like very demanding. Like I remember thinking, here's some okay looking guy with a job,
Hmm.
and they're like, oh, I want to date a model with brains. I'm like, okay, uh, it just seemed weird. And then the women have their issues as well. So I'd say if somebody's serious and they're in New York about like getting married, they should leave New York because you have more choice and the
Hmm.
people are more like serious about like, and it's
Yeah.
also very expensive in New York. So the whole thing, getting, living in New York, and then how do you, unless you have really good jobs, like how are you going to cope? A lot of
Hmm.
people move out. I know a lot of people that I knew when I was there with the kids. They were like, "Oh, you're so lucky you got out. We're just dying to get out." But then, there's school but anyway, yeah, I was concerned, but
Okay.
I was just lucky because I had two kids after the age of 40, which is
After the age of 40.
unusual.
And they, both daughters.
Hmm.
Okay. And where you moved out of New York, and where did you go?
Went to Cincinnati for
Okay,
5
so
years.
there was no like brief pit stop somewhere else. You just were
No,
like, we're
that was
going.
it. That's the
That
pit
was
stop was
okay.
Cincinnati. Cincinnati's the 5-year pit stop.
Gotcha. I just
Yeah.
don't want to make any assumptions because some people
No, no,
say I
no.
left New
That's
York
that's
and I
the
went to
that's
like
that's the pit
suburb
stop.
of New
Was
York.
what we so five that was a long pit stop.
Okay.
Not funny.
Yeah,
5-year
yeah,
pit
it's
stop.
interesting.
Mm.
Because every time I think of Cincinnati, I think of the show with Drew Carey where um he had like some sort of like Ohio or something. And it was
Oh,
I forget
I
what
didn't know
it's
that show. I
called.
didn't even know
It
there
was
was one.
a sitcom.
Oh, I didn't even know there was one based in
Yeah,
Cincinnati.
yeah.
Probably
I have
filmed in
no idea what.
Hollywood, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It probably was.
Yeah.
So um you were totally done with consulting. You went to Cincinnati. What did you do
Okay,
with
no, no.
okay.
Before I became
Mhm.
a coach in New York.
What
Okay.
type of coach?
I started as a life coach, but in three
Okay.
minutes, I was a business coach because I'm really good at marketing. I'm just intuitively helping people make money. Also,
Hmm.
I'm emotionally connected to helping people make money because
Hmm.
I was a single mom at that point, and I
Gotcha.
thought, gee, I better do something. So my kids were 1 and 4, I became a coach. No, when my kids were like 2 and 5, I became a coach. I started with the kids blog, which
Hmm.
became well known around the world, but didn't make a lot of money. And I thought, well, this is not going to cut it. So I kept doing the blog because it was good just to blog regularly, and I got some attention. I
Yeah.
got a lot of free loot. People
Hmm.
sent us designer clothes all the time just to be featured on the blog. So we got the best dressed poor kids in New York. Okay, so then I thought, oh, I better do something else because I got to take care of my kids. And so I became a coach. And I was
Okay.
getting clients. I was getting clients like in those days you could do phone coaching. They didn't insist on Zoom, right?
Hmm.
Zoom
Hmm.
didn't really exist much then. I don't think, not
No,
much.
that was like
Yeah, that was like,
a
yeah,
dream. Yeah.
exactly. So it was good. I could not care about me being looking all great and just be on phone calls coaching people in my pajamas. So I started as that, and I did the whole offline shuffle for 8 years. Just the whole, networking, which is hard because
Hmm.
I didn't know how to get online, and I wish I had because I would have run ads then and they would have worked because they were working then. But I
Hmm.
didn't know that kind of. I didn't know that I didn't have a coach. That
So
my one regret is I did not get a coach that knew the online world from the get go. I'd be
gotcha.
100 million by now. I'm serious. So then I did that for 8 years in New York, and
Hmm.
then I moved to no 6 years. Sorry. Then I moved to Cincinnati. I did 2 more years just trying to create networks, and I was an ambassador for a chamber of commerce and all sorts, so much networking. It just didn't work. It wasn't the market that New York was. And I thought, so 5 years ago, when I was
Hmm.
still in Cincinnati, I'd been then 8 years coaching offline. I thought I got to get online. And I did. I got online and I figured out how to do organic social media marketing, and the rest is history. I got to $1 million in 17 months on my
Awesome.
own without
Awesome.
ads. And I kept going. I tested a bunch of ads, of course, wasted about
So
90K wasted in ads. And now we're at several million now,
let me back
5 years
the
in.
trolley up a little bit because you brought up some points and I just want to ask some questions. So you said you did the offline
Mhm,
um, networking, and the offline
mhm.
networking, you were doing that in Ohio or New
I
York
was doing
City?
that in New York and Ohio.
Okay, so
6 years in New York, two
mhm.
years in Ohio.
And like what was your success ratio? What were you saying to people to have them at that time say, "Yeah, I want to use your services." And were they able to afford you? Like two-part question.
Yes, yes, but I'm just saying it's so the whole thing is broken with like the whole thing of thinking you can build a wealthy, sustainable business just by going to networking events. The pond is so low. You go to a networking event, you meet a handful of people, you have to
Hmm.
talk to all of them, you have to evaluate if they even need a coach. Like, what's the random idea of maybe somebody that needs you?
Hmm.
There's a
Hmm.
few, you get their card, you reach out, you get them on a call. It's so low, the chances of building a sustainable business offline, unless you have, 100K offer, right? Then it's,
Mhm.
so that whole thing, I wish I'd just gotten online sooner. Because
Gotcha.
online, there's just a bunch of people all over the world, and you'd have to go through all that, and you'd have to get out there all the time. I sit at home
Hmm.
and make millions of dollars. And I go to networking events if I want to, because I'm interested in meeting people
Gotcha.
instead of because
Yeah.
I have to. That whole stress, I got to go out and find clients out there. It's broken and it's not a sustainable model. And people have to get hip to being online.
No,
Get
100%, 100%.
online. Yeah.
I was asking that question from two different perspectives because in my business that we were chatting up before that, I deal with like
Mhm.
small micro businesses.
Yes.
So for me, it's just like the pond is full, but I'm not a coach and I'm not in your world. And
Yes.
where where my target is like a little spot. And um, for the jump to online, um, are you nationwide, worldwide? Are
I'm
you like
worldwide. I
worldwide?
have I have clients all over
Okay.
Slovenia. I had Dubai,
Okay.
America.
Hmm.
It's hard with the 12. I do have one in Thailand and we just work it out. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
I've had clients in Australia, Italy, France, Switzerland, uh, Holland, um, India.
And how much are
Uh,
you charging for your time for
well, I'm
coaching?
not charging for my time. That's a bad
Okay.
question. It's a really
No,
bad
it's
question
it's a fair question
because
because I'm not in your
no,
world.
because you
So
shouldn't be charging for your time.
okay.
Yes, you could figure out the time for some people.
Hmm.
I have I have three offers. Okay. One, I have a group one-on-one hybrid model that works better than group and
Hmm.
better than, of course,
One on one.
just one-on-one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my market now for this is coaches and consultants and online service providers. So I've worked with people like you, actually. I have digital marketers that come in that
Hmm.
are like, Jean, I really need to learn the organic because my clients aren't ready for ads yet. And they need something that, so they know that
Yeah.
because the ads aren't working,
Hmm.
especially for coaches. So they come in because they want to learn it. So
Gotcha.
mainly coaches and consultants, some service providers, digital marketers, SEO people. Sometimes I had an
Hmm.
email marketing guy. So this is a 12-week program and it's 10K. Okay.
It's $10,000 for 12 weeks.
$10,000. There's
You're
me and a bunch of coaches though. It's a whole, it works. It's dialed in. I've been doing this 5 years. There's
Mhm.
me, there's other coaches that help with every single part of the process.
Gotcha. Now, my
And
question to you is, I sorry to cut you off.
yes,
Do you add people in throughout the course of the 12 weeks, or is it like, hey, we
yes,
start, okay, so it's rolling 12 weeks. It's not like
yes,
a, hey, we're starting in March and then we end
no,
in whenever.
no, that's the way to lose money and actually have a business that's telling people I don't want your money. That to me, from my
Really?
business philosophy, 'cause I'm
Hmm.
also a business strategist. I've been a strategist for 13 years as well. Because
Yeah.
all the offline stuff, that was not what that was very lots of different business, law firms, plastic surgeons, spas, consultants, you name it,
Hmm.
interior architectural design firm. So there was a lot of business strategy, and I have certain philosophies. My philosophy is this. If you have an offer and people proudly say I have a waiting list, when people
Hmm.
say I have a waiting list, all I'm thinking is your business is broken. Because if you have to say, no, I can't take your money, that's a problem. That is creating a lack of flow, of cash flow, which is oxygen for your business. Cash flow is the oxygen of your business. So you want to make sure your business is having oxygen as much as possible, all day long, as
Hmm.
much as
Hmm.
possible. When people change their mindset to that mindset, their businesses automatically do better. That's the first bit. So it is rolling admission and it works better because the people starting are learning from the people that have been in there a while and they're shot up with just like
Gotcha.
learning curve. So it works amazingly.
Hmm.
It's great. It just works. It's been working for 5 years.
Hmm.
That's 10K.
Hmm.
Okay. But we also have provisions that it has to work in my contract. Like it has to work.
So what
Or
results wise are you saying? Because that's kind of a curiosity to me. Like what results do you have in your contract that say like this is non-negotiable, this will be achieved for you?
it basically, no, I don't do any of that. I'm just very simple. And
Okay.
I don't guarantee because let's face it, the FTC now
Hmm.
is cracking down on coaches. And the
Really?
one thing that most coaches, I do a lot of research and I got coaching on this about being compliant because they keep changing the rules and it's draconian now. You can't do anything.
Hmm.
So, I mean, nobody, I truly don't think there's any coach out there that's compliant. It's almost impossible to be completely compliant. Like it literally mean that you could not sell, like literally. Okay. However, there is one thing that's easy to do to be compliant, and that's
Hmm.
also for you. Okay. You're not allowed to guarantee anything. You are not allowed to use the word guarantee. You are not. That is so not compliant now. So for
Okay.
ads, for anything on a sales call, nothing. So I don't use a guarantee. I got coaching on this, how to promise results. It's just a term of service in my contract. It's an agreement. So it's sort of like if you pay somebody to fix your fridge,
Hmm.
it's in the agreement. We're going to fix your fridge and you're going to pay us money. That's not a guarantee. That's just a deliverable, right?
Hmm.
So, and I got coaching and yes, this is good what I'm doing. And what it is I have an agreement. It says agreement. If you
Hmm.
have not gotten your first high ticket client by the time the 12 weeks ends, we have to coach you at no extra cost till that happens. Boom.
So like
That's it.
you basically say, hey, um,
It has to work.
you pay us up front, 12
Hmm.
weeks. If you don't high
I have
ticket
a payment
client,
plan. We do have a payment plan for people that want it,
of
but
course, yeah, yeah.
but
I mean,
we're
like,
not like getting paid when you get results because that's not the model, and never do that, by the way. Coaches never do that.
hmm.
That you're not in their business. I'm not part of your business. I have a business. You
Oh,
pay me.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, a lot of people try to convince
I'm
you
not
to
a
do that.
restaurateur either. Like I'll
No, but
never, yeah.
it's so funny. Yeah, you're not going to go eat and say, "Hey, if I like the food, then I'll pay you." Right?
No, yeah,
Like,
no,
no,
that's crazy. Yeah.
exactly. It's nuts. But you know, quite frankly, let's call the elephant in the room. You know how many people come to me and go, "Hey, Jean, I'll work with you, and when I get results, then I'll pay you." And I'm like, "Well, that's not very good because I'm actually investing a lot of money for your onboarding with all the coaching, all the back end. So what you're saying is I have to risk my money to invest in you, and then if it doesn't work, I lose." That's not a business. You'd have to be a
Mhm.
blooming idiot to agree to that. So coaches never agree to that,
Okay.
ever.
So two
You
other
know?
questions off of that. First one,
Yes.
like you said, hey, we're gonna after 12 weeks, we're gonna like until you get your high ticket client, how do
Mhm.
you keep them honest to basically
Well, the
say
thing
like be
is, I,
like
I see when people are doing it's you have to do the work. The caveat is you must, however, do the work. That's it. Now, people know they have to do the work. If they
hmm.
don't do the work, you know, we were coaching them the whole time. Say, hey, we have unlimited one-on-one, by the way, in this. So when you say, I don't know, I just know that if client needs more one-on-one with us, me and my head coach, we just do it. We don't go, oh no, da da da. I don't work that way. It's coming from generosity and from my goal. My goal is we want results, period. That's it. So whatever it takes, we don't count. It's like you need more, you're getting more. And it all works out because
what if someone turns around and basically says like after 12 weeks maybe they got a high ticket client, they just don't tell you they did. Like is
oh
there a
no,
way?
well actually that happened once.
Okay. What did you
And
do?
but I knew it. You
How'd
could
you know?
I can tell.
How did you
You're
tell?
because
Like,
you're coaching people and they're reporting what's going on and then all of a sudden they're stopped reporting. You know, it's like you know,
oh,
oh, did you
gotcha.
get your first high ticket client? Mumbling. Did you get your first one? Well, what do you think? You know, there's I'm not any, you know, you're coaching people, you know them and you know how they're reacting and all of a sudden it changes. Really? You haven't gotten one? Some people, one person wanted to stay in the, you know what? I'm like, I can't prove it. So it's not the end of the world.
Hmm.
Then I
Hmm.
get, are you sure you haven't gotten? Oh, I just did get one. Okay, great. So great. We've proved it. They love our program. They want to
Hmm.
stay in it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we also have a year. So this person could have signed up for another year, but did not want to, just want to stay in the program and get free coaching. So it happened once, no big deal.
Okay. So
Most
you
people, most people
so
are honest people. Most people are good people. I don't
gotcha.
believe people are bad. You
No,
know,
no.
it's not
Most people deep
yeah,
down want to be good and they want to be successful
yeah,
and they want to make money.
yes,
100%. No, you mentioned something. You said you have multiple packages, and the first
hmm,
package was 12 weeks for a certain dollar
10K.
amount, and then you had
Yep,
other ones, and you said, "Hey, we have going on for a year." So I'm assuming you have another package
I
which
do.
is
You want to
for
hear about
a
it?
year. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm just trying to
I'll-
understand and
Sure.
like, yeah,
I'll tell you. I'm very transparent. So,
yeah.
and it's amazing. Most people don't ask me for the prices on a podcast, but I'll tell you. So, um, we have a whole year. Now, the year is amazing because
Hmm.
in the year, what they're getting is they're getting the system in place for the steady stream of leads with organic marketing, and they're getting every single other thing they need from me. And I'm a general coach as well.
Okay.
So Do you want to start a podcast and monetize it? Because I have monetized my podcast in no time. Do
Great.
you want to get on more podcasts and learn how to get clients from being on the podcast? Do
Mhm.
you want to leverage a book? Do you want to start a Facebook group and do events in there? Do you want to get more speaking gigs that are paid? Do you want to get your tech, your tech in order, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
All those things you need as services, you want to get those all working well and not all over the place. We'll help you with that. Also, and get help, team building, how to hire people, how to have those people do a good job and mentor them, because I'm good at that, and how to also safeguard your business so they don't lose your accounts. There's all that system work that I figured out over 5 years of where to hire VAs, how to train them, how to have them be successful, leadership,
Mhm. Mhm.
leading your small team, even if it's one VA. There's all of that business building they're getting, as well as replicating marketing avenues, because maybe they started on LinkedIn and then they also want to do Instagram or Facebook, how to then replicate marketing avenues, how to make it just a business that's growing and then they can scale. So it is everything they need. And I show them everything I've done, like,
Mhm.
behind the scenes. And we have a few guests here and there, like high end, like wealth building guests to get their mindset into being $1 million coach. That's my goal. So this is anything they need. Okay.
Mhm.
And they can get unlimited calls with me for a whole year, and they get 4 rounds of the accelerator. So the accelerator is already worth 40K for 4 rounds. And
So
they're
the
also
accelerator is what you call the 12-week
of the
program.
12 weeks business success
Gotcha.
accelerator. They're getting 4 rounds of that, which is worth 40K
Mhm.
for free, because they're only paying the 35K to get me for a whole year as their business advisor coach on anything they need. Some people would book life coaching calls or a leadership coach, and I'll take it. So it's everything.
Mhm.
And we bend over backwards just to help them. Like they need different people. We'll just be advisors as well. So that's 35K. And that comes with a 35K ROI match agreement, meaning no guarantee. Again, I can't use the word guarantee. It's an agreement. A guarantee seems like a bell and a whistle, right? An agreement is built into your contract. It's more
Mhm.
serious.
Yeah,
So
when I
the
think of
ROI,
guarantee, like I more think of like home services and like we're gonna
no. A
guarantee
lot
we're
of
gonna like
coaches go,
put down a sidewalk for you.
no. Coaches, you look at Facebook ads. We
Mhm.
guarantee that you're going to, 10X. And are you kidding? That's why the FTC is cracking down. A lot of this is just false
Mhm.
advertising, right? So no, you're not. And no, a lot of coaches do guarantee. I guarantee you're going to make 10X your blah, blah, blah. We don't guarantee a thing. We agree
Mhm.
that they have to at least match that 35K ROI match minimum. So at least we know they're getting their money back, right? And then everything they're going to learn. And that is not our goal. That is just a fail safe to take anxiety away from the investment, that we're agreeing this is going to happen. If it doesn't happen and you're doing the work, we just have to keep coaching you till you get 35K. And they're like, great, that's cool, because then they know we're in it for the long haul.
Mhm.
Anyway, however, that does not happen, that people come in for a whole year and don't get ROI. It's happened once because of person had to move. There was a death in the family, more moving. It was just a lot of life stuff made it impossible for that person to actually do the work. Make sense?
Mhm.
That was
And how many
very
clients
exceptional.
do you I'm just curious because like I'm all in like my sales mindset at the moment. Um,
Sure.
how many clients do you generally have call up and like what's your close ratio? Like,
That varies depending on the avenue. Is that
okay,
interesting? So I don't know, maybe I mean sometimes it's better, sometimes it's probably around average, maybe 25% to 30, maybe. Sometimes it's worse. So I should,
25% saying yes,
so
70.
yeah, maybe 1 in 4, but sometimes less.
Okay.
Like it just depends. And sometimes it's more. Again,
Mm-hmm.
it depends on the marketing avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's it's much higher rate. And it just depends. I've looked and I've seen that it varies on where it's coming from. Make
Gotcha.
sense? Yeah.
No, that makes total sense. And that's really interesting. So like your leads are obviously being generated by organic work that you've been
Yes.
doing, the organic
Organic.
marketing.
Hmm.
Like, you probably have a funnel in place to work them through, get them through
No,
the
I don't have a
VA
funnel.
or
It's no, I have
no?
no funnel. I mean, it's
Okay.
funnel. I have a billion funnels. Yes, that never worked for ads. The funnel is an organic marketing funnel. It's still a funnel, but it's
Hmm.
not a funnel like your people would understand it, like a sales page, landing page funnel where they click through. No, that's not how I sell.
Okay.
We
So
have a
how do
billion
you
of those.
sell?
Yeah.
How do you
We
sell?
sell organically, hardcore organic social media marketing, which is about communication. It
Okay.
is about proper content. And I can't coach everybody on this call, but I'll tell you,
No, no,
it's
I'm
about
not, I'm more like trying
yeah,
to understand the
the
thought
system.
process you have. Yeah.
The thought process, okay, this is what you need. You need a hot offer. I help people create that offer
Gotcha.
to make sure, and I can do that in 5 or 10 minutes, and it's
Mhm.
going to be good. People struggle for years with that. Who is your market? They also struggle. So they're struggling for years about who am I serving and what's my program, and they spend their life tweaking $1 or $2 or $9.97 or whoa, no, they have no real good offer. It's not about a $2 difference. It's about the marketing is off. So
Mhm. Mhm.
often people keep changing their offer. It's not the offer. You could sell air if you know how to position it,
Of course. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get that sorted that they are clear. This is who I'm working with. This is my really hot, irresistible offer. That's
Mhm.
better than other people's offers in the same niche because I know what's being offered and I make it better for them. Then they
Gotcha.
have to get really clear on their content, like their messaging has to be so clear, and I help them with that. And then they have to really produce a certain type of content that my thing is to intrigue people. And then you have to be really good at communicating with people, communicating and getting in conversations and getting people intrigued enough to want to speak with you because they really want to speak with you because they're like, this person has something that I want to find out about. And they get on a call and then they decide whether they want to work with you or not.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hopefully you're showing them,
No, no, like you bring up
all
another
of your
question.
testimony. And when you first start, you won't
Yeah.
have a lot of testimonials, and that's no problem. People
Mhm.
go, but Sean, I have hundreds of testimonials. Like I have a page. Did you see it? The JeanOmlore.com/reviews. I don't know if my
No,
assistant
I've
sent that
not.
to you.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't, but that's not my
Right.
question. I wanted to bring up. My question is, you brought up hot offer, and you said you were an executive recruiter. Did you get the experience of creating a hot offer within that
No,
period of time from executive recruiting? Or
absolutely. No, there was no offers. I didn't have an offer. I had a job and they gave it to me, a job description. So there
okay,
was no offer. No, I'm talking about a coaching offer, like a program or an offer. So like you have an offer, it's SEO, and I don't know how much you charge, but there's an offer,
yeah, of
right?
course, yeah.
Yeah. They're going to do certain deliverables and they pay X amount of money,
Hmm.
correct?
Yep.
That's an offer,
Hmm.
right? So with executive recruiting, I was never creating an offer. They're like, hey, Sean, Deutsche Bank needs this. Here's the description. Go find us somebody. Okay. When I was talking to them, I would just explain what that was, the
Gotcha.
job offer.
So I'm just
I
kind of
was never
curious,
creating
like
a job. Yeah.
a lot of times people have success in life and
Mhm.
they learn it in one way and they can deploy it somewhere else
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
make it. So this is just something you're like, hey, we have a hot offer. It didn't come from the consulting, it didn't come from the executive recruiting. It
No.
came from when you started this, and
Yes.
you were just running with it.
It came from working with over 500 coaches and consultants. I've created 500 offers, more actually, more than 500. So when you've done that, when you created offers, and also for myself, but when
Hmm.
you've worked with offers day in, day out, I could do that with my eyes closed because it's unconscious capability, I think they call
Hmm.
it, right? Or
Yeah,
capacity or something.
it's all good. I follow what your
It's
train
all
of
good.
thought is. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, no, it's from doing this
Okay.
for years and years and years and years, and knowing I know the coaching world. I know it's out there. I speak to thousands of coaches because,
Hmm.
I don't sign up every single coach. So I hear their offer and I know it's out there. I know what people are paying and I know how to make it better. And
Hmm.
I also know about emotions and what people need. And they need to hear something that they really want, not, oh, here's an offer because I really want to. This is the problem. People go, oh, I really want to help people do this. That's lovely. Does that person need your help and are they going to pay for it? That's
100%.
the
Yeah.
question.
That's
Yeah.
that's $1 million question right there. Yeah.
$1 million question. So I
Hmm.
help them get real right away and I save them. I just started with a new coach today.
Okay.
Never coached out in the world ever.
Hmm.
On that 1 hour call, I saved her years. And she was like, oh my goodness, you just saved me years of my life. Years. I thought of doing it. I said, nope, don't do that because of this. And I just shortcut. She goes, oh, you're right. I said, that would have taken a year of testing. That would have been a year. She's
Hmm.
like, oh, and then another thing. We worked out, I saved her 2 years in one call of
I'm
just,
sorry.
we saved her 2 years of fiddling around with going down the wrong path
Hmm.
in one call.
And was
I said,
this a
nope,
conference
it's not going to
call
work.
that you did, or was this a one-on-one,
I
or was
do.
this part of the group?
This is part of my program. She took
Okay,
the 35K year. She
gotcha.
has an unlimited one-on-one with me. Okay.
Hmm.
But every single person, and everybody gets unlimited, but every single person that comes into either program,
Hmm.
I do a 1 hour personal pathway session where I get everything sorted out. I get their avatar, their offer, the positioning, what platform, and I go through our materials and I custom make what they should do and record it all. They all
Gotcha.
have their own non-cookie cutter pathway. So it's not a
So
cookie cutter thing where
you
they all get their
you don't have
own.
like a template. You're just basically doing this from scratch with them on the call, or do you have like some things
We have certain templates that we
okay.
use, yes.
I
And
hate using the word template, but that's what popped in my
there are
head, so I
certain,
apologize.
yes, there are
Yeah.
certain templates. Like they fill certain, everybody has to fill out 2 templates before I can know what's going on.
Okay.
We do have trainings in the vault, yes,
Hmm.
but not everybody does all the trainings because it would be a waste of time. So we
Hmm.
go in and we say, okay, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. And I go through and I figure out for them because I just go, nope, yes, do that. And so save time.
Gotcha.
Each person, though, gets a customized pathway. So it is not this thing of coming in and, oh, just go do all those, you know how you go into programs, just go do
Yeah.
all those trainings and because it doesn't work. So they
Yeah,
get, and
you need to sift through like out of the 1,000 things that are in their vault or whatever they call it,
it's
and
not a
say
thousand. I keep
these.
it. I don't have 1,000. I try to keep it not 1,000.
Yeah, I
My
know a
whole
gentleman
thing
that
is,
does like
yeah,
have like a
no, I
thousand
limit it. I
plus.
don't want
But
to
I mean, like there's
overwhelm.
25 that are really the meat and
It
potatoes.
depends. Yeah, you're asking nitty-gritty questions that I'd have to actually have you in there to tell you what you're getting. Okay, so
No,
I'm
no, no,
not
no.
being
You're
evasive.
fine. Like this
I'm
is
just saying like
yeah.
there's only so much I can explain without actually getting you on a personal pathway session, which I won't do on this call.
No, no,
But
and I don't want
yeah,
you to do that. Like
yeah,
more of my I'm a curious person, so I like to ask questions.
sure.
And like we go
Yes.
down and I just kind of keep going down that way.
Sure, but I don't want to like confuse people because I want to keep it like really clear what's going on
Mhm.
here. And sometimes if you just sort of throw out information that's non-related, people are like, what? So I want to keep it clear. We have a
Yeah.
12 week, 10K. We have 35K year long. Okay.
Hmm.
Everybody, there's a vault. There's a lovely community. Every single person that works with us, no matter what they're doing, gets a personal pathway session with me.
Hmm.
And I figure out their pathway, their offer, their everything. And then from there, then they continue the coaching group and one-on-one. Make sense?
Gotcha. No,
That's
no,
it.
I have a couple other questions I want to ask.
Sure.
We're gonna veer off a little bit. So
Okay.
like I feel like we've gone like down this rabbit hole and I want to
Yeah.
pull us back out of it.
Good. Because
Um
that's like, that's all I can say. You know,
yeah,
like,
like no, no, no. Yeah, I don't I feel like if I keep on asking it's a little bit rude. Switching gears entirely. So you have
uh-huh.
2 daughters.
Hmm.
You're a single solo parent, as you like to call it.
Yeah.
And are they involved in your business as well? Or are they not
They do
involved?
tasks for me. Yes.
Okay.
They're not heavily involved, but yeah, they have learned a lot. They have learned,
Mhm.
I've realized how much they've learned by hearing me in the other room on sales calls.
Gotcha.
Like they also see I like they joke because even though I don't count on networking, I am
Mhm.
what's called a loudspeaker for my business. It's called the
Mhm.
loudspeaker method. I will tell anybody about my business and they're like, there's mom selling it. They see me like just people like, yeah, I do want to get on call with you. Just, like in the supermarket. Like, so
Yeah.
taught them. And actually one of my daughters taught me how to sell. I'll tell you a story about that in a minute if you wish. But
Yeah, please do.
um, so no, they also hear a lot about mindset. And it was so funny because a few years ago, let's see, it was let's see, I want to say, yeah, 4 years ago, my daughter was
Mhm.
doing basketball. Okay. And the basketball coach, I said, hey, do you want me to do some mindset with these girls? And I did the whole creative visualization for, athletes of
Yeah.
visualizing and, and they loved it. Okay. And my daughter was a little like, oh, mom's doing, okay. And I just said, hey, I'll do that with the young girls,
Yeah.
I guess they were all about 10.
Okay. I got
Anyway,
a 12-year-old daughter, so just
yeah. So
perspective.
she was in
Yeah.
this, adorable basketball team.
Hmm.
And then I was like, one day I was like, those girls need to go for it more like that. And my daughter started this like, it sounded like a TEDx talk. She goes, yeah, they should be doing this and they should be more gritty and da da da. And I said, I'm going to tape this. Okay. I taped her. It was magnificent. She just riffed on this. She goes, yeah, maybe she was 11. maybe
Mhm.
10 or 11, maybe 11 actually. And she's like, you know, and they got to like, you know, they got to go for it and they got to like not give up. And when they decide, they got to decide. And then I was just amazed. She had literally, from hearing me on my Facebook lives, from my recordings, and she'd heard it. And it just came out of her. She
Mhm.
could have been, I was just, she's now embarrassed, but I recorded 3 of these short snippets of her and she just talked and it just came out of her. And I thought, whoa, she's listening.
Mhm. Oh yeah, they
The
absorb. They
grit and
just
the resilience and
yeah,
this.
they
And she goes, they should just like go for it. They shouldn't like hesitate. It's just like this motivational 11-year-old about like, you know, go for it. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So they are listening. And one of my daughters wants to be a business person because of me. I'm like, what? She goes, I think I want to just become a business person. Like, you may be a coach eventually. I said, well, you can't coach on something until you have some experience first. Cause you know,
yeah.
unless you're coaching other teenagers or whatever. But so they definitely are learning a lot about sales. They're
Mhm.
just absorbing it and about mindset,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
being resilient. I talk a lot about, they get sick of me saying, you know, I got to be more gritty. Like I was so sick of hearing about gritty, you know, but even if they're sick of it or not, they've heard it. They
Okay.
can't unhear it. And they've
Yeah.
also seen the mindset of seeing a struggling 54-year-old single mom in deep debt turn her life around and become a multi-millionaire,
And
i.e., they
you
have seen no
yeah.
matter where you are, you can always change your fate.
And
That's
you
mindset,
covered a question I was about to ask, and that
right?
was the deep debt question.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to structure it, so I'm gonna make it more broad. What
Uh-huh.
was the deep debt? Was it a mortgage? Was it a car
Oh,
payment? Was it
no, no, no. It was
moving?
it was worse than that because
Okay.
if it's a mortgage, you're paying something off.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was just dead debt. And by the way,
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago, I had no assets.
Mm-hmm.
I had no mortgage. I didn't have no equity in anything.
Mm-hmm.
I had a 17-year-old rusty Jeep. Okay. Not
Okay.
even a good Jeep, the cheaper kind of Jeep, Liberty, you know, um, that was always breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
I had debt that was personal debt to my divorce lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And a ton of credit card debt.
Okay.
All right.
Gotcha.
So personal and luckily some of it was personal because and I managed the debt. So it was I always moved it. I had a lot of credit because over the years I'd been very good with it. But and they were like, you could take out more credit debt. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have been in way deeper debt because I had the credit. And
Mm-hmm.
they just kept giving me credit cards, right? They're like, oh, okay, let's get her.
So
But
can you put a number around deep debt? Was it like
you know, I can't
70,000?
remember exactly, but probably about anywhere between like 70K, something, maybe not exactly, but
Yeah.
there was a lot and it was in different
Uh-huh.
areas. So I never really, I kind of didn't really add it all up, like, cause I was
Mhm.
just like, you know, uh, it was a lot for somebody who's 54 with no job,
Mhm.
with no assets, no collateral, no 401k,
Mhm.
nothing, no
Nothing.
life
Just
insurance,
0. Like,
nothing.
were you
I'm talking about a rare person in America at 54,
so
like
were you,
zero.
like, in Florida at that time? Were you in
I was
Ohio?
in Cincinnati.
Okay,
Okay.
Cincinnati. Okay, just
Yeah.
trying
So
to
I'll
get the
go through the
timeline structure.
timeline again
Yeah,
because we're getting
yeah.
confused about timeline. I want to just not confuse the listeners. I was in New York. I moved to Cincinnati.
Mhm.
For 2 years, I still was not doing well.
Mhm.
Okay. Then after 2 years, then I got online and I learned this. And
Mhm.
from that point, 17 months later, I had made $1 million. Okay.
Okay, so you
So
went from 0
I
to
was
60.
54. I was 54 at that time. I'm now 59. Okay. I'm
Mhm.
going to be 60 next year, just
You
to
look
add
very,
that up.
very good for your age. Very, very good.
Thank you. I know you're really confused about that because I look so young, but the thing is I care about health too. I really look after myself. When I
Mhm.
was stressed, it was hard, but you know, I tried. Um, so at that point, when I got myself online, I actually
Mhm.
took on another 10K debt on 3 different credit cards to do a program. So adding
Mhm.
more 10K. Get it? So I didn't even at that point, I was just like, okay, I'm in debt. Luckily, it's all on 0% credit cards, thank goodness. So I wasn't
Mhm.
paying interest.
Yep.
And I was just thinking, you know what? It's okay. I'm in debt and it's all on 0% except for the lawyer. And
Mhm.
she was trying to put the screws on me. And I was like, you know, you want me to pay this? You're gonna have to wait because I don't want to go bankrupt. I won't
Mhm.
do it. But if you want to force me into bankruptcy by suing me, then I don't know what to say because
Mhm.
you know what I'm going through. And I'm doing my best. So when I did make money and I just paid her in full, she could not believe it. Just,
Gotcha. She was like
anyway,
happy.
she couldn't
Um,
believe it. I said, I
so
told you to trust me because I am ethical and I will pay you because you did the work.
perfect.
Anywho, got
Yeah.
online and that was the deal. And then I took on another 10K debt immediately to get into some program, which is not the best program, but it, to me, it's not about
Which
perfection.
one was it?
I can't say. I cannot say, and I won't say. They were
Is
shut
that,
down by the FTC last year.
oh,
And so
okay. So I wasn't sure. Yeah, no, that's
I don't want to advertise. I don't want to name names.
you're fine. You're good. No
One of
worries.
the things is this. It was an inferior program, and I also don't want it, bad energy. It was an inferior program, no name.
Hmm.
And um, but it got me online. And I made lemonade out of lemons as I always do. And I think that is part of my success is I don't think things should be perfect. I just do it and I go, look, it's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to get the most I can out of it and be happy. And I
Hmm.
did. And I got the most. I had to create my own stuff because they were not coaching me at all. And I learned a lot what not to do.
That was one of my questions. I was a follow up. You just
Yes.
said, like, what did they not do for
They
you
didn't
that?
coach us at all. 10K and there was no coaching. It was all a few group things. It was all about running Facebook ads. And I was like, okay, thought I was going to run Facebook ads. They said, you can't run Facebook ads. They won't work. And I said, that's what I thought. So
Hmm.
why am I here? They said, well, you got to do something called organic marketing. And I literally said, what, like carrots? I didn't know what that was, which is quite funny because I'm like the queen of organic marketing. They call me that in the ClickFunnels world. So life is full of irony.
Hmm.
So anyway, I just thought, okay, well, I got to make this work. I
Yeah.
just got to make this work. And I worked like a dog night and day, like night and day. Cause I thought this has to work. So
Hmm.
I was just a beast. And all the other people in the program, they're like, she is just, duh. I was on a podcast the other day of a guy that, and there he goes, we saw you working. And we were like, this woman is just like so determined. He said, we couldn't believe the amount of work you're doing. And I said, well, that's what made me figure it out was all that testing.
Hmm.
Okay. 900 conversations in Facebook Messenger to test what I'm doing. 18 sales calls with no yeses, nonstop. I was just like, I have to make this work. And my daughter saw me like, just like nonstop, hardly sleeping. Finally, on the 8th week, actually, 8 weeks is not that long, but it seemed like an eternity to me because
No, that
I
is an
worked.
eternity for a business that's
Yes.
not producing profits. Yeah.
And then you're like more, and then, and I hadn't gotten clients in a long while offline anyway.
Hmm.
Not a long while, but anyway. So the 8th week, I cracked the code and I figured out what makes this all work. And from there, and I thought, Eureka! And I knew, I just thought, I have it, I got it. This people need this, and this is going to work.
Well,
And I started
yeah.
crying, and I told my kids, it worked, and we are all crying and dancing around the house. I said, I got a client. I said, this is going to work, and my daughter's like, oh, mommy. And, so it was very emotional. But
So
I remember that moment.
two questions.
Yes.
Um, and one statement. So I'll ask the questions first. How much was your client, the first client you got at the time?
These are good questions. It was $4,800.
Oh, that
Okay.
must have been like after 8 weeks of nothing, like
It was,
a bonanza.
I'd never made 4,800. Well, no, I'd made that when I had like an event and they all signed up all at once, but that was
Mhm.
like extraordinary. But it was like 3 months planning the event, getting people there, marketing it, blah, 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 blah. And then the payday came in. Right. But
Yeah.
just one client, you know, I'd gotten 30K clients for a whole year of coaching before. I had done that. They were far
Mhm.
and few between though in my
Mhm.
offline days, but I had done that. Um, so, but anyway, I was like, wow. And then I got 2 more that week. I got 3 in 1 week. So I made like about almost 15K
In
in
one week.
1 week.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
let's go
That
back to
was
the
to
eight
me
week
blew
period.
my mind. I'd never made that much money in my entire life in
Second
1 week.
question.
Yes.
Second question. Like, what was your typical during that 8 week period before the
Hmm.
first sale? I want to preface this.
Hmm.
How many hours a day were you working?
Oh, 10 to 12.
10 to 12. When
Yeah, I mean,
what time
nonstop.
did you start?
I would get up, throw some clothes on, take care
Hmm.
of my kids' breakfast. It was part of this was during summer vacation. So part of it was, can't remember. I think it started in summer vacation. Yes. So luckily they were taking care of themselves mostly. They were, I didn't have to drive them to school and all that. So I thought, okay, but I still was taking them to like, activities, lots of activities. It was before COVID.
Yeah.
So driving around still, but it was okay. I just work and okay, work, 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 work. And
Hmm.
then I would drive somewhere. And while I was in the car, I was still working. I'd say, tell me when the light is red, and I'd work, 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 work. I didn't waste a minute, not
Right.
one
You just
minute, not
grinding.
one. But then during this was what really got me anxious. I had to drive them. So I had to drive 12 hours to their camp, summer camp,
Hmm.
get them in. And then I got a whole week where I went into I paid for a workspace
Hmm.
and I just worked nonstop. So that kind of gave me more time because I didn't have to do anything with them. Like
Okay.
no dinner, no cooking. I was,
Just going,
I
going,
didn't have to
going.
do any because I was, had lodging,
Yeah.
and actually the not the boarding school, the camp let me have a place to stay too while I was there. They
Yeah.
said, you can have this room. So I didn't have to pay for anything. And I was kind of on site. So, but I didn't really see them much. They were like, oh, hi, mom, But so I did that. But then it still wasn't working. And I was like, this is still not working. I think that was like week like 5 or 6. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
I only have and I was getting so anxious. Then I thought, well, now we're out and about. It is summer vacation. I really need to do something with my kids apart from just summer camp.
Hmm.
So I took a little road trip and we drove to New Mexico because we have family there. I remember I was having a panic attack almost in the bathroom while they were sleeping. I was so stressed out that this wasn't working still. I was like, what am I going to do? And I was texting a colleague in the program. I said, I am so stressed out right now. My kids are sleeping. I don't want them to see me stressed out. I was like, I'm having a panic attack, I think. And he said, just breathe. He said, just have your vacation. It's just a few days. So I had to actually take off. Like, I think all in all, that trip was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 days, like
Hmm. Hmm.
in the middle of this. I was like, oh no. But then I thought, okay, he goes, it will work. You will get back to your beast-like ways. So that was more stress, but I didn't want my kids to not have that vacation that year. And
Gotcha.
in the end, I calmed myself down. I thought he's right. He's like, this will work. Do not, he goes, you will work. It will work it. Just calm down and just do those days and do what you can when you take a break. So I was still doing some messaging and a little bit of marketing at night. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
I'd be there, working for an hour or two so I was doing a little bit, but it's super stressful. The stakes were extremely high, very high
Interesting.
stakes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's true. Like I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I was like much younger, and like I know there was a point in time where like I was doing all nighters and
Yes.
putting the effort and the time in, and like there's a philosophy which I kind of agree with of if you put like 100% effort and you do
Hmm.
100% more effort than your
Hmm.
competitor, you're going to be
Hmm.
successful
Hmm.
despite yourself because
Hmm.
it's going to work. You're going to get
Right.
that success. Now, defining success in every industry is wildly different. For you, it's 4,000,
Well,
10,000, 35,000. For another one, it might be like 1,000 clients that are paying like $35 a piece.
sure.
So it varies. Yeah.
No, we're not talking about price units. That's,
No, no,
some
yeah,
people,
yeah. But well, my
yeah.
point
But
was
the
is
point,
like if you put the energy in and the effort in, you're gonna find success. And
you
like,
will.
yeah,
Something has to give. Something's
yeah.
got to give. Now, I could have been doing, and a lot of my testing did not work. I went
Hmm.
down many holes. I'm like, this isn't working. Okay, test again. So a lot of that was not like, oh, she just tested and it worked. No, it
Hmm.
was, that's not working. What do I do now? Okay, well, maybe I'll try this. Okay, oh, that worked. Oh, that worked. Do more of that. So it was a lot of testing. And I agree with you. When you first start a business, you have to be willing not to burn yourself out. I don't agree with
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
but you have to be willing to not say, oh, I insist on work life balance from the get go. You will not be successful with that kind of prima donna attitude. I don't know one person that's successful that was not scrappy when they first started their businesses. Sure,
100%.
maybe they have more money now and people are helping them. And, I have more help now, but I still get in and I'm like, okay, this isn't working. We got to test something else, folks. It's not autoplay. It's
No,
really not.
yeah, and you can't be
No.
a prima donna because in my industry, I have a lot of designers, and they will sell the purple elephant to someone,
Mhm.
and if
Yes.
you say, "Hey, I want a pink elephant," they don't care. Their purple elephant in their mind is like the best elephant that could ever
Yes.
be.
Mhm.
And your like pink elephant excitement is out the
Mhm.
window to them.
Mm.
So it's I totally understand what you're saying right now.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a thing. It's a real
It's a
thing.
thing. And I'll admit there were days I did not take a shower. I was like, I don't have time to shower. I'd be like up, throw some clothes on and just work. It
Yeah,
wasn't like,
yeah.
oh, I'm getting up and I'm gonna, do my toiletry. I'm not gonna,
Mhm.
do all that and and do my yoga. No, it was like, go do it. Just just
100%.
get
Yeah,
up,
I was right
throw
there. I
some
was
clothes
like,
on, work, 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 message,
yep.
da da da, take care of the kids when I needed to, and
Yeah,
drive them somewhere, go do the groceries. Still, they just saw this woman nonstop. And That
like
that was a
you're
while.
grinding. You're grinding.
But I
Yeah.
sustained that for quite a while. I fit that into my life and I just sustained it.
Mhm.
That's why I got to 1 million in 17 months because I kept doing that. People are like,
So
oh,
you
that's not
you didn't stop
sustainable. I'm like, yes, it
after the
is.
8-week period. You're like, no, I'm going to use that same work ethic, and
Exactly.
I'm gonna keep on pressing. I know for a fact I was like that for a period of time
Yeah.
where I was no breakfast, no lunch, and I would just
Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
it just go
That
go go
happened to
go
me
go.
too, especially because I don't eat breakfast anyway. But
Yeah, I would
um,
take a shower
I
because
no, I mean, no, I'll be serious. I'll be serious. There were days I did not take a shower. I was like, I don't have time for a shower. No shower.
yeah, I would think in the
None.
shower. Like I would get in the shower,
No,
I
no,
would
no. I
think,
didn't even have time
and
for that. Just get up, get out of bed. I was actually texting in bed. I'd wake up and I'd start writing a post in bed. I'd speak a post in
mhm,
bed that went into a Facebook group. Done. And I'd be like messaging people in bed the second I got up. Sometimes that was to me. It's like, well, at least I get to lie in bed while I'm doing some work.
yeah,
I never watched TV, but then when I did watch TV, I put a joke in the group. I said, hey everybody, because I was like, how are these people watching TV? How are they? I thought no wonder they're not successful in this program. They're just going along with their normal lives, sort of fitting. I thought that's never going to work. You need to.
mhm,
I was telling people, you've got to do more. You've got
mhm,
to, but they were just the normal everyday life. And I said, you got to put more hours in. That's all.
mhm.
So finally, I said, hey everybody, I finally sat down in front of the TV, but I'm messaging, and somebody said, is the TV on? Which I thought was so funny because they knew me that by that point. I said, yep, it's on. And I was sort of, because I thought, well, I could half watch now. And I thought,
Mhm.
actually, I can get a lot of work done just sort of half watching TV. And I got an extra other 3. I was going to bed really late too. I just thought, get the kids in bed, got another 4 hours I can work. And I worked it, but it was sort of
Yeah,
half working.
yeah. Like in my experience, and this is where it's different. I have a problem with something that's computer related, and
Hmm.
I had like if you stare at it long enough, it just is like, okay, I can't figure it out. But you walk
Yeah.
away and you go somewhere different and you
Yeah.
just switch gears, all of
Yeah.
a sudden you have that solution. You're like, oh, this is what I need to do. And then you're like, okay, I'm gonna
Mhm.
dry off and run back. And
No,
like,
that's different, right?
yeah,
Mine was communication. It's sort of like the executive recruiting. The more people I called, you just gotten, the more
yeah,
people I had conversations with and added, and that you could just do that forever. And it's kind of easy,
yeah,
you
yeah.
just need the
But
reps.
yeah, but when I first started my personal career, we had call list and we had hundreds of people we had to call and we had to close
Yeah.
them and we'd have a pizza party night. And
Mm-hmm.
like every 30 minutes we would, or hour or whatever, we would just call and then we'd stop and have pizza, have some sodas, and then we'd go back for another 30 minutes, hour call, and then be like,
Yeah.
okay, have another slice of pizza, have some soda. And people
So you
will
put
say,
on a
how
lot of
many,
weight.
what?
You put on a lot of weight at that
No,
place.
I didn't
Oh.
because like that was at the point in time where there was like no breakfast, no lunch. And I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
go,
You
go,
just
go,
had a piece,
go.
2 pieces of pizza. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like I would have that. That was kind of like, all right, free dinner. Um, but like we were like closing, and it was sort of like, how much can you close in a certain
Mm.
evening? Because we are like, we have to get to the month end goal, and we're just going to do it now. We have to get the year end goal. We're just going to do it now. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a standing joke. We called it December 32nd
Mm.
because like we were not going to go into January 1st until we had met our thing, and we're like,
That's so funny. I also want the months to be longer sometimes, so I hit my marks. It's like, dang it, why? I like long months. I
yeah.
don't like short months. I'm like, oh, I'm very numbers oriented, and I
Mhm.
always want to win. I want to beat myself.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
had a full year where I had like incredible growth.
Hmm.
My favorite point in business, I don't know for you how you felt about it, but actually it was the pandemic. Um,
I did very well in the pandemic,
I
and
just
I mean,
locking in and all those
I
distractions.
had to. You know what? I had guilt-free mom guilt because
Hmm.
I couldn't drive my kids to activities. I wasn't allowed to. And I thought, ooh, I actually get a free pass here because, and you know how much time that saved me? Like
Oh, so many
so much
distractions just
time.
gone.
Their piano lessons, I convinced the teacher to do online. She goes, yeah, I said, just do it by Zoom. She was like,
Mhm.
oh, wow, you saved my business. So I saved her business. Okay.
Yep.
And so that was that. There was no sports. There was no driving them anywhere, no choir. We couldn't go to choir. So I was like,
Hmm.
oh my goodness, I just saved a bunch of time. So I got more work done. And COVID was great for me. And
Hmm.
I was already growing a lot. And it didn't hurt me because everybody needed to be online then. So I
Yeah.
had the solution. And nobody, everybody knows ads don't work that well. Pretty much everybody knows now for coaching.
Yeah, it's a very, very sensitive topic because in certain industries they do work, but it's
But
very
not for coaches.
centric. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I was gonna say off of your point, like, it, the pandemic actually redefined my business a little bit because prior to it, I was doing a lot more graphic design, and I was sort of like, uh, a percentage of web, percentage of graphic, and then it totally shifted in like
Mm,
a just a big way. And I went hard into the web, and I said, okay, um, for my business model, like I would sit down with someone like yourself in my
mhm,
office and I'll work through the graphic design with you. You're
mhm,
making changes right next to me, adjusting
mm,
color tones, working on the Pantone color so you can take it to
mhm,
your digital press person. Um, and then it went to like a swing, just such a radical swing. And it was a
mm,
beautiful moment, like because all of a sudden the doors just blew open, and
mm,
in that distraction free moment where like I don't know about you, but when you're saying I got to wait for someone to arrive so I can
mm,
talk with them, and then after they depart, there's a lot of moving dynamics and logistics for that to make your office just so.
mm,
So it's a good experience when they arrive, but
mhm,
you're not really focused on like all the other elements because you're like saying
mm,
I got to make this appear very nice and make sure
mhm,
everything is good, and then the after work. So
mm,
like that amount of time saving was
mhm.
unbelievable. Where I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a Zoom, but I don't have that prep I need to do. I could just have a
Yeah.
one of
Also
these
not
behind me.
having, also the whole thing of even getting online, as I was saying,
Hmm.
for women, we have to put makeup on. We have to, men don't have to do that part. It takes time. We have to get in our car, drive
Hmm.
somewhere, chit chat with a bunch of people that are not your avatar, not your
Hmm.
niche,
Hmm. Yep.
chit chat, find somebody that might get the card. It's broken. So that already being online, and then the COVID part
Hmm.
was I got a free pass that I didn't have to have. I had zero mom guilt that my kids were doing no activities except for piano, and I just didn't have to do anything because they didn't have to drive them, right?
Yep.
All of that driving, that was a lot of hours per week.
Oh,
A lot.
100%. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like they were doing basketball twice and then the games and choir. That was
Hmm.
a big drive. And then choir, like, performances and piano. I mean, it was a lot of back and forth, like hours. I
Hmm.
know I saved at least 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 hours a week. That could work. That's a lot of time.
Yeah. So
More even.
yeah, I have a
Yeah.
question for you. Like I had another individual that came on my show. You can watch that episode if you so desire. He
Mm,
said he does consulting, coaching, something, and he does
right.
it donation based.
Ah, well, that's nice for him.
Yeah, like obviously, I wanted to get your thoughts on like that because when I heard it,
Well,
I think
well,
charities
well,
in my
okay, this is
mind.
the deal. I don't know his life story, and
Hmm.
maybe he's retired,
Yep.
and maybe he's just doing it because he loves coaching and he doesn't need the money. And maybe and God bless him,
Hmm.
but you're not going to make a lot of money with donation based because people, oh, I'm just going to give you a little bit of money. So maybe
Hmm.
he's doing it because he just wants to help people, perhaps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
watch the episode. And yeah,
Mm.
it's kind of unusual, but I having someone of your caliber that's so successful, like I just was trying to wrap my head around it. Like obviously you're like, okay, that's the thing, but I was like, I've never heard of someone saying I'm doing it for a donation. I've always heard it like I'm doing it for like a service fee or
I
something.
have, I have, I've
You
heard the
have.
donation. Yes. And
Okay.
as I said, I don't know his life story. God bless him for
Hmm.
serving. I don't know the life story, but I do know people that are retired that don't need the money say things like that. It's like, well, I just want to coach and they can give me what they want. I just want to help. Great. That's not somebody that needs to build a business to support their family anymore. They
Hmm.
are okay, or they have a good retirement, or they're independently wealthy already. So, but you
Hmm.
cannot build, if you need money, and you need to build a business to support a family, you cannot do it on donation because human nature is such that you're never going to have enough. That's
Okay.
Because if somebody said to me, "Hey, Jean, you can just donate well, am I going to donate $35,000 for a year? Probably not, because to me that sounds like you just want to help, and so here, I would feel
It was like
uncomfortable.
$150. Have a great day.
I'd rather have a price. I'd
Mhm,
rather, and by the way, I want to pay for things. Why?
mhm,
Because then I will do the work. If you do not pay, you do not pay attention. So
mhm.
I'm not looking for freebies at all. I have a friend who sort of mentors me a bit because he's good at investing, but we're friends and it's not like, hey, you're coaching me. He'll give me,
Mhm.
I'm not going to pay him. It's a friend just chatting, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it's probably worth money, but it's just friendly. But if it were a coach, I would want to pay the coach. I don't want freebies. Freebies don't work.
Mhm.
You don't value it when it's free. And why would they, unless it's a mentor? Mentors often just mentor you because they care about you, even though they're really wealthy. They're just a mentor. That's different. Not coaching. It's two different things. I'm like a mentor slash coach. So I don't know his background, but if you want to build a sustainable business, you cannot say, hey, just donate, because people will say, sure, here's $20. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Here's
And
10 bucks.
you have a lot of small fish before you get a big fish in that
Yeah.
mindset. The other one I want to kick your off of you. I had another guest that came on early
Mhm.
on, and he was saying his success was driven from book sales. Like he
Oh,
wasn't
great.
selling the book. He had a book and it was a marketing tool, and he would give it
Yes.
away
Yes.
to
It's
real people in.
yes. Yes.
Do
It's a book
you
funnel. It's called a book funnel.
do
Yes.
you do you stand by that, or you do like
Hey, it works for some. Of course, I stand by it. It works for him. So to
okay?
me, whatever, people go, can I do this? Sure. If do whatever you want. So
Do
that
you
works for some
do
people.
you like the book element yourself or
I've not written a book on
okay,
purpose because,
really? Okay.
yeah, because I don't want to take that on.
Mhm.
And it's going to take me away from what I'm doing, which is already making money. I'm not
Yeah.
against books, but now with AI, everybody's going to be able to write a book in like 4 seconds. So
Yeah, you're
I
right.
know,
I mean, there's a lot of
yeah,
AI driven
I
things
know,
out there.
I know people that are stopping writing books. They're like, I know a big influencer, and he told me personally, he goes, "This is my last book." He goes, "The writing's on the wall. Anybody can." And of course, they all were ghostwritten anyway. He goes, "All of my books except for one were ghostwritten." So I'm not against books. I think books could be a good calling card, but
Mhm.
like, and certainly if you write a book and you do run ads to the book, yes, that is a book funnel, and it
Mhm.
does work. You need to have coaches that know how to do that, that help you with that. Don't People go, I'm just going to do that. I'm like, oh, you didn't get coaching on it. Okay. So it's not going to work. So everything you're doing, find an expert that
Mhm.
knows about the book funnel, that's going to show you how to run the ads. They're going to do it for you, maybe. And they have a whole funnel of how to
Mhm.
get clients from the fact that you wrote a book, which is related to your offer.
Mhm.
Okay. Because there's a lot of confusion. Some people, I'm going to write a book. Great. But unless your book is directly related to your offer, it won't be a good book funnel. It's just like you wrote a random book on this. Oh, and by the way, I have the coaching over here. Okay.
Yeah, no, you're 1,000% right because I'm one of those
Yeah.
people that wrote a book because it was on my bucket list of
Yeah.
life is
Yes.
like to write a book. So I wrote one and like I may write a second one, but
Sure.
it's not connected to web. It's
No,
just
you
like
just wanted to write a book, right?
and yeah, I wrote a book and it's out there.
Yes.
It's on Amazon. I have a link to it because I'm proud of it. But it's like
Yeah.
I don't care about the sales. It's something that, maybe I'll get a copy for my daughter when she gets a bit older. She can read and
Yeah.
be like, your dad wrote this and read
Great.
it. Yeah.
I don't personally, maybe I'll write a book, but I'm like, I don't have any desire. And if I
Yeah.
were going to write a book, I don't want to write a book that has the same exact thing in it. Like, it's really hard to come up with something new, right?
Yeah.
Oh, but tell your story. Okay, I could tell my story, but why am I writing the book? Like, I always ask, what's my motivation?
Yeah.
If I'm
Yeah.
going to write a book as a lead gen, sure, I could do that. Then,
Hmm.
sure, I'll do a lead gen book on marketing, and I'll do the book funnel.
Hmm.
Really want to, because it's going
Yeah.
to take
Yeah.
me away from other stuff I'm doing, right? And I always have another project. And so right now I have other things that I'm thinking about doing. And I
Hmm.
don't do a bunch of things all at once. I'm not an amateur like a lot of people. I
Hmm.
focus. I'm
Yeah.
building this. It's good. Now I'm thinking, what do I do next? Well, I started a podcast recently. I just started the podcast. It's growing well.
Hmm.
That's my project right now. So let's just put some juice into that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Of
By the way,
course.
I
It's
get a lot
great.
of clients from the fact I just have a podcast, even though it's not related to my business. Again, I started a podcast, Business Wealth Impact, not about coaching. It is
Hmm.
not about my business on purpose. I just wanted to do that as a passion project. So I love talking to people about fascinating stuff,
Well,
experts.
100%. That's the same way
Yeah.
with mine. Like
Yeah.
interesting by design is a passion project. My question to you is, your podcast, like, I had one person that literally jumped on one of my first episodes when I relaunched, that basically said, like, I get a lot of sales, and he was
Hmm.
an accountant, off
Hmm.
of like people that I talk to on the podcast.
Right.
Is that your thing, or is it people that are
Um,
listening that are just coming in and saying, you know what, I want to utilize her because I use her. She's like on my
right.
playlist.
It's a mix, mainly just the facts. I have a podcast. People like
Okay,
want to talk to me about it. Okay.
gotcha.
And then they're like, what do you do? I'm like, well, actually, I do this. They go, really? I go, yeah, you want to hear more about that? Sure. And they book a sales call. So
Hmm.
the fact I have a podcast. And then
Interesting.
some of those people actually are guests on my podcast if they're a
That's
fit.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like after
But
the fact or
it's not a
before?
conditional pay to play thing. It's not like, hey, if you become my client, then you get to be on the podcast, because that's not how it works. It's, are
Mhm.
you going to be a good fit? Whether you're a coach, I mean, some of these people would never be my client because they're not coaches,
Yeah.
they're big experts. Like I had a NASA scientist. You think she's ever going to be my client?
No,
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 but I wanted to
100%.
have her
Yeah.
on there. Yeah.
I had a
So,
recreational mathematician come on my show, and that
right.
was kind of the most interesting interview I've ever had.
What, more
But
interesting than mine? Aw, I'm
you're
kidding.
up there. You're done. Like,
I'm
it's just one of
joking.
those things where, like, who's ever heard of the Byzantine problem before? Like,
Exactly.
that was like
Fascinating.
very, very fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, um, I do find this to be a very, very interesting interview, by the way. So, and
Oh, I'm glad.
yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, you're like in the top five
Oh,
all
I'm
time.
glad I made the top 5.
Yeah,
Phew.
yeah.
I've got to say, this has been an interesting interview because it has been all over the map. It's been in different countries, different things. You got my whole exact, nobody's ever asked the exact method. Hey, maybe you should get on a call with me because it sounds like you're interested. Um, so yeah, it's been all over the map. I love it. You know everything about me except my shoe size.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and I have a few more questions before we wrap up, is I know we've been on for a bit, and that's in reference to the divorce.
Okay, I don't really like going into that. It's sort of private, and it's like the
Okay,
one thing that I don't talk about because it affects other people.
gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Not to, it just, let's just say it happened. All right.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Um, let me frame this differently. Like, in reference to this idea coming about and
Mm-hmm.
pre-divorce,
Mm.
were you thinking about this idea pre-divorce?
Okay, interesting question. Fact is, I was separated for almost 5 years before the actual divorce happened. So I was separated when my kids were 1 and 4.
Okay.
And that was when I thought, okay, I better do something. And I
Hmm.
thought, what do I do? And I thought, well, I'm really stylish and I know about fashion and blah, 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 blah. And so I started a kids blog.
Hmm.
That was where I got online at all. And
Gotcha.
that was when I realized this blog is never going to support us, not the way I want.
No,
So
yeah, no.
at that point, I thought, what do I do?
Hmm.
I am going to be a coach. Now, interesting question. Not many people have asked that. The fact is, yes, I, for years, thought I would be a great coach, but I was not living an authentic life. Therefore, I could not coach people when I was just lost in my life.
Hmm.
So it freed me that, wait, now, even though I'm broke and just starting out, I'm actually took control of my life.
Hmm.
I took control, for good or for bad, of my life, no matter what. There's
Gotcha.
power in that. That's the power. And that's when I thought, oh, now I could be a life coach, to have people go for what they want, because I am actually going for what I want.
Okay.
But I've always been really good at counseling people. People ask advice, coaching, all sorts of stuff. I used to coach actors on how to keep their credit debt down for free in holding areas. They'd be like, oh, I have so much interest. I said, why are you doing that? Come here. And I'd say, this is what you do. You move the card and you get 0%, and then you never pay interest ever. And then you move it again, build your credit, and you're not paying interest. Why are you paying interest every month? That's money poured down. And they're like, I can do that. I said, yeah, I figured stuff out. And they were like, wow, thank you so much. So I would just coach people for free because I cared. I
Hmm.
cared. It made me sick to my stomach that these actors were paying interest and didn't realize they didn't have to every month. It's like, no, how much you paying? I'm paying like 400 interest. What? No, move it. I can do that. Yeah, you can. Ah, so I've always wanted, and I used to help people with like their health because
Hmm.
I'm into health. Like, this is how you go on a diet, you know. And I was a terrible health coach, but that was just because they were like, you know, a lot about nutrition. I would just tell people. So I was always really helpful. My personality is help other people. It's just
Hmm.
in my genes. Be helpful. You know, that person that somebody has a problem and you're like, I got to help them. I'm going to tell them, hey, wait a minute. You know, I see this is going on. Here, go do this. That's just my personality, which is a
Hmm.
great personality to have as a coach
Gotcha.
because it's no
Now,
stretch for me to help my clients. I want to help them.
that's
I
awesome.
truly want to help. Yeah.
Switching gears again, totally different direction.
Yes.
VAs, virtual assistants.
Yeah.
I want to hear the stories of
Oh.
VAs.
Okay. Um, it's vast. Okay.
Yes.
Now you have to figure out what your preference is of culture and time difference with the VA. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Personally, I do not like working with VAs in the Philippines at all. I worked with a lot of them. The time difference I did not like at all. And I did not like the fact that if a person's working for me, they are actually not in good health. And it is not healthy to be working in the middle of the night to suit my hours. So it didn't feel good because that's not healthy. So it didn't sit right that the stress, I felt the stress. They don't mind, but I mind. So I don't want to work for somebody if they are working in the middle of the night for me. This is not a healthy lifestyle.
Hmm.
That weighed on me. I also, the time difference wasn't good and the culture
Hmm.
of, I'm not saying I don't like Filipinos, so please don't take it that way.
No, no, I'm
For
not,
me,
not at all. I'm just
for
listening.
me, for me, it wasn't a fit as far as them having to be unhealthy. I don't want people to be unhealthy. I
Hmm.
had some good VAs. I had a really good VA from the Philippines at one point. Really good worker. It was just that whole time he was always tired because he was up all night, and I was like, "Oh, this is not good." And then he was sleep deprived, and I said, "Look, this it wasn't good, you know." And then he had two other jobs. And I'm like, "Oh, he was just so sleep. It was just really hard for me to witness. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. You need to not have me and get some sleep." So that to me is not a fit. I don't want that kind of a time difference. I don't.
So
So
what do you do now?
personally, I like assistants that are in Central or South America, where it's maybe 1 or 2 hours difference for
Gotcha.
me. Okay. Because then it's almost the same time. I also like working with people in the States, you know, and then I do have one VA who lives in Spain, and that works for us because there's enough lap over in the day if 5 hours difference is not 12. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
That she gets what she's and she does a lot of things without me on her own, you know. So I have somebody in Spain who's an English speaker. I have somebody in America, and then I have 2 people in Venezuela right now. I actually need to hire another person.
So when that was a follow-up question I was about to ask. Like, where do you look? Do you look at Fiverr? Do you look at like,
It's all over. But this is a whole training. Like finding a VA is not like, you know, when people go to Fiverr and find it is no, there's like, I've been doing this for 5 years and I've gone through the mill and I kind of know there's certain things to do. And
hmm,
it may be Fiverr, it may be somewhere else. And there's a certain way of onboarding them, certain way of getting information before you have to interview a certain way.
hmm,
There's
hmm.
all sorts of stuff now that I've learned from trial and error of how not to hire. And it's
Gotcha.
vast. It's a lot. So I'll just say it depends. It depends on what you're looking for, where you're looking. That's the answer. It's
Okay.
not a one shot answer because I wouldn't want people to go, well, Shauna Malora said, go do this. And it's, yeah, it depends where and what you want.
Okay.
Okay. And what they're doing. Because and I actually am working with somebody in India right now. That's more a service for my web at the moment.
Hmm. Hmm.
It just depends. You know,
Yeah.
he speaks very good English. So that's the key thing for me is I need them to speak very good English because struggling with a language barrier is
It's no
so
good.
stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just won't do that. It's just not worth it, you
Yeah.
know?
100%.
Yeah.
My other question was related to trust. And
Yes.
like obviously you have a successful business,
Hmm.
and how do you get comfortable that this person is a trustworthy person?
The VA?
Saying, yeah, with the VA.
Well, as I said, there's all sorts of, you have to interview them. It's a
Okay.
process. So it's vast. I'm saying it's not like go do this and go do this. It's depends where they are, depends what they're doing. You'll notice I have VAs in different countries,
Mhm.
okay, doing different things, different skills, et cetera, different time zones, because some don't matter. You know, so I found that I have found here and there a few Indians here and there that do a good job with web.
Mhm.
They all speak good English though, and they all have a more Americanized attitude.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. I can't deal with a certain overselling type of hype. I'm like, I literally just say you can quit. I literally say you can quit the hype right now. You're not dealing with that kind of person. What are we doing here? And they're like, okay. And they drop it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can just quit that right now with me. Okay. Nicely. You don't have to do that with me. We're good. So
Mhm.
stop the over blah, blah, blah. And then they stop it. They're like, okay. And they laugh and they go, okay. So you have to know, I know I've worked with Pakistanis, Indians, people in Europe,
Mhm.
people in Eastern Europe, um, different countries in Central and South America, Philippines, lots of different countries involved there. And I kind of know what
Mhm.
goes on, what you need, what you're looking for, and the attitude you want. And everybody's different. I know people that love working with Filipinos. They love it. They love it. They don't mind the time difference. It's just not worked out for me generally. Although
Well,
there is one person
yeah.
that I use for one job and she does a good job. Okay.
So my
Yeah.
question is in reference to the VAs, have you ever had a situation where you lost trust with a VA and
Absolutely. I had one VA that was a nightmare.
how so?
One was a complete nightmare. She tried to sabotage my business after working with me for almost 2 years. It was very disappointing. It was very toxic. And but you know, that happens. And
Mhm.
luckily we had some fail safes. So, you know, we saved what she was deleting out of my
Mhm.
business, deleting content. Like now how long it takes for me to build content. So we saved it. We found the content, we rebuilt it, and the other VA like fixed it all. But
Mhm.
it was disappointing. But you know, in business, you are disappointed sometimes. But generally, oh my goodness, we have such a my team now is perfect. I
Mhm.
have a coaching team that is seamless. They're amazing people. The people on my because I have coaches that work for me.
How many
They're all
coaches do you have?
amazing. Hmm?
How many coaches do you have?
I have one, hang on, let me see. Client success director and a head coach, sales, like 5 working with me. Yeah, 5. They're all amazing. They do an
Mhm.
incredible job. There's never a problem. We have an amazing working seamless system. So
And
that's
these are not VAs. These are
oh no,
legit.
these are coaches that are on coaches. As I said, coaches, you asked about coaches. So a
Yep.
VA is not a coach,
I
right?
just want I
That's
want to make that clarification because
yeah,
there's a
because we're talking about
yeah.
VAs, then you
Mhm.
asked about coaches. So I'm not talking about VAs now. I'm talking about coaches.
Perfect.
That's the question. And I'm
Yep.
very, very anal about how I answer questions on purpose. Okay. So you might have noticed that.
No,
So
no, it's good.
I hate I do not like confusion. I like clarity. And that's
Yep.
actually what my clients love about me. They're like, You're very clear." So I'm talking about coaches on
Mhm.
my coaching team that coach my clients on my team. They are not VAs. Okay.
Gotcha.
Well, actually, one is not actually a coach. She's a client success director. So it's not coaching. That's more of a client success, but no coaching. Okay. That's a
Okay.
tiny bit of coaching, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all amazing. They do a fantastic job. I've found them over time and they do a great job. Amazing working, never a glitch, never, nothing.
So how'd you come
Amazing.
across these people?
Zero stress.
Was it
I find people, some of them were clients of mine and they were
okay?
like, we got along so well and they were like really good at what they did. Like one of them was a client of mine who's a mindset coach. She's
Mhm.
incredible. I saw the talent. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. Do you want to just work? They're not working full time. They can still have their businesses, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they love it because they're getting some work with me. We like working together, and then they have all the time in the world to build their business as well. So they're not missing out on building their business, and that's really important. Is I don't want people to miss out on building their own business when they work for me
Okay.
as a coach.
Do you
Um,
have like agreements that there's like you're not going to do this in your business on the side or like how does that generally
no,
operate?
because
No?
they're no, because the mindset coach is a mindset coach. He's not me. And the sales coach is a sales coach. He's not me. And
Mhm.
the content and copy coach is a content and copy coach, not me. So they can do whatever they want. Like it's their
Gotcha.
business. Like I think that not trying to control people goes a long way.
Mhm.
And they know I'm not trying to control them and they're going to coach on what they're going to coach. And it's all good. It's all great. Actually, people that work with me, if they want, like one client came in, she goes, I don't know what I want to work on. I said, let's work it out. And I crafted her offer. She goes, what can I do? I really want to become a coach. She was a 23-year-old tech person.
Mhm.
Okay. Worked in tech in San Francisco. She goes, I really don't know. I said, what if you do what I'm doing, but make it for your Gen X? Is it Gen Z? Gen Z, or Gen Z now,
There's so
right?
many gens. Yeah.
The
I
Gen
can't
Z.
keep
I'm
up.
Gen X. That's Gen
Yeah.
Z. And she goes, wait, you're going to let me teach what you're teaching me to other people? I said, absolutely. She went, you're going to, I said, of course, just don't take my actual trainings. I said, you can do, but you're going to, you have your own spin, your own personality.
Hmm.
She turned that around in the space of 2 weeks, came in, knew nothing about organic marketing. I positioned her, we did a little bit of light branding. Okay. Jean's 5-minute branding, I call it. And she said, I also don't know how to coach. I said, that's okay. Just run the questions by me. So I basically, and she got to $17,000 in 6 weeks
That's
with a
great.
new coaching business, not certified. So I'm very open minded. I said, sure. She goes, I said, of course I'll let you do that. It's a different market. You're not stealing my, she redid her own take on my trainings.
Hmm.
And she was, I cannot believe you let me do that. I said, absolutely. I am very abundance mindset.
Hmm.
Okay. And
Yeah.
she's like, I cannot believe. I said, I knew it would work. She's like, and then she signed up for the longer program with me. And after 4 months, she was able to give up her job and be a coach and travel while she was coaching.
That's
She said,
fantastic.
I never dreamt that in 4 months, she goes, I thought it was going to be like 2 years from now. She goes, I was able to quit my job in 4 months of meeting you. So extremely open-minded. And I mean, if they steal my
Hmm.
trainings and go sell them, then I'm going to be upset. Right? That's
Yeah, of
different.
course. Yeah. Because
That's
that's trust.
piracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be different.
Yeah.
I would not like that.
No, I don't think any business owner would like that because,
No.
we put the time, effort, and energy into our business be
Well,
successful in our own little
yeah,
way. And have
they
someone
would
just
never.
take it and run with it is
Yeah, but I know my coaches, they're great people and I love
yeah.
working with them and they're amazing and they're great coaches. I took my time to find great coaches and
Mhm.
one by one, and we've been a team for a while now. So yeah, I mean, will I be, I've had bad VAs that have done naughty stuff like, m- m- marking more. I didn't make them do the whole time tracking things. I trust. But then you realize they are putting in a lot of extra hours they did not work. And I'd be like, wait, are you sure? Oh, actually, you're right. I did do 12 hours less. 12 hours is a lot to bill me extra.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
when I see that, then they're gone. I mean, once people lose my trust, they're gone. They're
Mhm.
done. I can't work like that.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's
So,
over. Yeah.
follow-up question. In your business, when did you
Right.
cross that threshold where you're saying like, hey, you know what? I do need to bring people on. I do need the help. How long was it after that 17 or like
No, it
8?
was before then. I had one VA that worked a few hours, like 2 or 3 hours a day.
Hmm.
I'd say probably around. No, I want to get help. I got maybe month 5,
Month
something like
5,
that.
that quickly.
Something like that.
Okay.
I started getting a little. I thought I need a little bit of help here, and it
And
was
where were
just
you
a couple
revenue
of.
wise by month 5?
Oh, gosh, I have to go back in time. Wow, you're really making me think here. Let me think. Um, Okay, so 8 weeks of nothingness. That's month 2. Month two, I got to 15K. Okay.
Okay.
End of month 2. End of month 3, I actually bumped it up to 30K.
In that month. Not like 15 to 30. It
30K
was like,
per month. No, 30K. Yeah, per
okay,
month. Okay,
got
I'm,
it.
I'm
Just
gonna go
I
back.
don't want to like
I'm
have
gonna go
someone be
back.
like,
Okay,
oh,
I'm gonna be clear again. Okay,
yes.
so okay. 2 months of nothingness.
Hmm.
When I got online, let's just say when I got online, because I was a coach for 8 years prior. So let's be real.
Hmm.
Getting online, no money coming online. New offer.
Yep.
Okay. 2 months of nothingness. Last week of that eighth week, 15K. So that means second month, 15K. 15K for the month.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Perfect.
Next month, I did go up to 30K for the month. I doubled.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome, right?
I'm not saying it's not
Month
awesome. Yeah.
month 4, I think I went up to 40K.
Okay.
Month 5, I was about 50K, something like that.
Gotcha.
Around that, or 45. I cannot remember the exact numbers, but I
Hmm.
remember the 15 to 30 to 40. And then after that, it got blurry. Then it was just, went up.
And at like the month 5, you're like, hey, I need to bring someone on.
I was like, I need some help. So it was just light work, like
Mhm. The
light,
busy work you don't want to be bothered
just
with
like,
anymore.
no, just light social media work a little bit and a little bit of web work because I had to fix
Hmm.
my website and
Yeah, yeah.
a little bit of reach out, maybe help and little things,
Okay.
helping with, yeah, little things that were easy. And it was about 3 hours a day.
So like
Yeah.
when you brought on your first coach, how far down the pipeline were you when you said I'm going to bring us?
Actually, um, it was that, um, just going to type a note here.
Okay.
That was, um, almost immediately. I started this and I had a coach that was in my other coaching business before, a few
Yeah.
years earlier. I had had a Tony Robbins type of setup before when I was still in New York, which when the divorce started, I had to close because I was just couldn't function. So I had a few coaches working for me. And basically I would take a client and they would either work with me and pay more, or they'd work with one of my coaches and pay less. Okay.
Hmm.
So one of those coaches, he was in contact with me and I said, hey, he's a mindset coach. I said, do you want to come in and be my mindset coach? And he said, sure. So it was a few weeks, maybe it was like after I started this, that I had a mindset coach in my program.
Awesome.
So immediately, and it was me and the mindset coach, and that was it. Because I knew I
Awesome.
needed extra mindset in there. That
Yeah,
was it.
well, we're
Mm.
wrapping up on this journey of your mind, and I wanted like I like to ask all my guests to like have a motivational statement that you want to share with the listeners. Anything you want to share.
Sure. You are worthy and ready right now. That's it. You are worthy and ready, right? NOW. That's it. You don't have to wait until you lose weight. You don't have to wait until you do the next deliverable online 10th program you've done. You don't have to wait till your relationships are perfect. You don't have to wait till your health is perfect. You don't have to wait for anything. You don't have to wait for people to give you permission. You are worthy and ready right now. And now, excuse me, is the only time to take action. And that is actually how I became successful, because I woke up that morning and I said to myself, if not now, when, Jean? And that got me out of bed. And I thought, I've got to find a program. That's literally the words in my head were like, I was depressed. I was like, I need to make this work. And it was, if not now, when I'm 50, I mean, I was already 54, when I'm 60, when I'm this. So it is now. It is not excuses. You are worthy and you are ready, because they all say, I'm not ready. Yes, you're ready right now.
Hmm.
If you live by that, your life will change.
Awesome.
That's it.
Well, that's a great way to end the episode. Thank you for coming on the show. You've been a pleasure to talk to, and I hope you have a blessed day.
You too. It's been awesome, and I'll speak with you later.
Okay. This episode was made and produced by i4 Web Services. Visit i4webservices.com to learn more.